Welcome back to Moonshine Performance. Today we're going to be working on a set of valve covers and a couple fittings. Now these are not the valve covers that are actually going to be on this motor. We're going to use actually some that are just like this over here on this 383. We're going to use the same exact valve covers. We're going to buy the ones with breather holes in them. And then we're going to weld, so let's say those breather holes are right here, we're going to weld in fill neck, so I'll weld a bung in and then a cap will go on this side and on that side just to make it symmetrical, I guess. And then we're going to weld on burn down tubes, or machine and bolt on burn down tubes, machine the fins off, and those will sit on there like that. There's a quick connect thing that'll come off of here, and then there'll be a hose coming all the way down into here, and then this is going to be the puke tank to get rid of all the milkiness from all the alky. Oil, yeah, everything. And there'll be a 90 off of here, come up, well actually it'll come out and then straight up like that, kind of at, well not straight, kind of at a 45, travel in the angle up to the burn down tube that would be up there. So it's going to be a task, I guess, and you cannot buy, not that we found, I guess, 90 fittings that have the hose barb on one end and have whatever 16 AN on this end, because I guess 90, yeah. And a 90 you can get straight, but we need a 90 with the way that puke tank's going to be mounted. We also have
it'll look stupid having hoses on the outside of the cage.
Yeah, if you were coming out right here and then
it'll look stupid. So we're gonna make a 90 fitting coming up.
So we ordered some 1/4-inch wall aluminum, foot long. I cut it in two, and so this is what it looked like. Well, it was all butted up together like that. It was just one solid piece. I cut it in half, and then I copied this fitting. This is the quick connect thing, and I copied that and turned it on the lathe and got these to match perfectly. So we have a hose barb. We're going to cut it at a 45 here, flip it around. That way it makes a 90, and then weld it back together. And this will go right here where that puke tank is going to mount and set up like that, and then travel all the way up to the valve covers. But with the valve covers, you can't just mount this on there because of these fins here. Get a better angle. So I'm going to take these and mill some fins out. That way it matches the outline of that pattern right there. So it's going to match that. I'll have the hole that matches that. It won't be this hole. It'll actually, say it'll go over here. I'll have to mill it out and then mill a hole into it. And it will bolt on just like that. So shouldn't be too bad. I've got a jig made for it, and I'm going to get ready to do it on a Bridgeport. But yep, that's what we're working on. First thing I like to do when I'm making a part like this is go ahead and paint it up with some stain or whatever that stuff is, and that way I can tell where my tool has been on a shiny piece of aluminum like this. But I'm just going through and kind of turning in the hose barb. There's not much to it, you know, you just got to figure out where the little barbs go so you got room for your hose clamp. Really, it doesn't have to be near perfect, but your hose clamp should do most of the work. As long as those two little ribs are there, you know, it's going to seal up just fine. Alright, got both of these made here. Both come out pretty good. Obviously there's a little bit difference between both of them, but I guess that's what makes the car custom. Here's the original one that I kind of modeled it off of, but these came out really good. We're going to go ahead and take this, chuck it up in the chop saw here, and figure out a way to clamp this and cut a 45 on it. I think we're going to go ahead and use a C-clamp from here to here and go real slow and chop it. And then we'll flip it around and butt it up and weld it, and that'll be our 90. It'll hopefully it comes out pretty. Hopefully I can do a good job welding it, because there's plenty of material there for me to not blow through or just completely melt. So we'll see how it goes. Clean, clean, clean. Chances are, if you are watching this clip right here, we did make the cut successfully, both of them, and I did weld them together successfully. So I guess that's a dead giveaway. Well, this is how it came out. Here's the end that'll get butted up to the tank, and I've already cleaned it up and filed it a little bit more, and a little bit out of square over here kind of falls off, but other than that, man, it looks pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to clean it up again, make it look real pretty, make sure I can get a good weld on it. This is what it used to look like with all that junk on it and all the WD-40 on there, but I'm going to chuck this up in the lathe and clean it as well, just make it look a little bit nicer and get it ready to weld too. Well, here's the first fitting here. And I assure you, the welds did look a little bit better. But we had a hard time getting this thing cut. We couldn't really find out a way to cut the end off. It was a little bit too long for it to fit inside of the frame rails here. And so we had to cut it. and the jaws kind of jimmied that up right there. But came out pretty nice. Got that nice and deburred on the inside there, and got her all flattened out as good as it needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and scuff that up, and we'll figure out where exactly we need to weld that on there, and then we'll go ahead and stick her on. He's working on the other one right now, getting that thing cleaned up for this side. Actually, this one's gonna go on this side, but he's working on the one that'll go on that side. We'll go ahead and weld them on. The other one, it came out pretty good. Again, it's a little bit jimmied up, but the welds didn't come out too bad. This is some thick stuff for that welder to do, but it made good work of it. It could have been a little bit hotter. They could have been sunk in a little bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and take all this off with a chamfer bit here in the lathe and clean that up there. There she is. Beautiful. Milling out the profile of them burn down tubes. We're just going to hand mill the center out, but the profile we've got programmed in there. We'll have to throw the hole in and drill and tap for 1/4 20. So I went ahead and did I put in a 635 as a 5/8 tool, and I went 10 thou bigger so I can go back and take off tool pressure. And then I did a circle and then a pocket, and I put it at 0, right here, because I've already got this thing zeroed out in the center and touched off on, well, best I could with my eye without an indicator. I used a edge finder and called it 0, radius 650, and she'll be good to go. So we're gonna turn this thing on and let her eat. Here I'm milling in a hole into these valve covers. This is for the oil fill cap bung that I went back and welded in later. It turned out pretty good. You know, it came out, it was a pretty decent looking weld. And I wanted to make a plug for the other end right here, because we also milled a circle on the other end. I think it said Chevrolet or something like that on the valve cover. And so right here I'm turning down the OD of the plug to match the ID of the valve cover. And I wanted kind of a little bit of a hangover on the top, but I didn't want it to quite look like a pancake like it does right now. So I went and faced it off, obviously, to make it nice and square and smooth. And then I also put a bevel on it to kind of, you know, smooth the transition, and it came out pretty good after powder coat. All right, we're getting these parts powder coated here. What color we go with? From black chrome, like a translucent black. This is gonna be sweet.
See how it kind of hits the corners better with this voltage?
Okay.
When I go over, it's going to lay out flatter.
Okay. Sweet. Here's how everything turned out. Powder coat on the valve covers turned out pretty nice, and we got this idler pulley bracket nice and done, and the throttle bracket's done, throttle cable bracket. Everything is looking good on this thing. We're coming together. Those fittings turned out pretty nice on there. That welder was maxed out on that 1/4 inch thick aluminum. That was that had to get really hot in order for me to get that aluminum melted, but they turned out pretty good. As you can see, this hose will run up here to the PC or to the burn down kind of adapter thing, and you can, this is kind of a quick connect. You pull that up and twist it, and you can take it off. Between passes, we're gonna have to take this off and kind of use a vacuum to air out the top of the motor here, because there'll be condensation and stuff like that built up on the back side of the valve cover. But everything's turning out nice in this car. It's coming together right before our very eyes. We still got a lot of work to do, and obviously we're gonna work towards, in some more videos, work towards getting this thing fired. Hopefully that comes within the next few weeks or so. Yeah, we work towards making passes this year. We got a big old mess of wire that we got to tidy up, and it's pretty much done though. The wiring is. There's still a few things we got to button up with that, but it's coming together, man. This thing is beautiful. That tank got mounted up nicely. We made those L brackets here to kind of mount up underneath of the tank down there to hold that in place. But we got to work on plumbing this thing and tidying everything up, finishing touches, and she's going to be fired.